Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com. I want to tell you a bit of a story about how the Deffwatch are returning and why this is important. It's important to me, but it's really about the shift in how we've been working here at MiniWarGaming and the type of content that we're making. So a few weeks ago, Kyle from Gear Guts Mech Shop was visiting. He's come before. He's brought his hundreds of thousands of points of bruisers, his custom 3D printable orc line, to make yet another Apocalypse game with Dave. A couple of years ago, he made one, and it took him a few days to film, and that video is like our most viewed video ever, just because it's a sea of models. It's really interesting. I think it's got over like 3 million views at this point. Anyway, Kyle's a great guy. And he had brought along helpers like Tanya and other people that were filming there too. And as I was walking through and taking a look at all his miniatures, I've seen them before lots of times. But the thing that I really like about Kyle's miniatures is not that they're not just like orc proxies and that's it. Like, he designed them with his own style. Maybe a little cartoonish, maybe a little whatever, a little more zany than usual. And it reminded me about how about 8 years ago now, boy, we're getting old, right? We had done a campaign we called the Deffwatch, and it's meant to be like the orcs version of the Deffwatch for the Space Marines, because we had done a lot of Deffwatch campaigns, and people seemed to love those, so we thought. And we had a lot of people say, well, can you do the Deffwatch campaign, but for Tau, or for Eldar, or for Chaos, or for orcs? Excuse me. So we decided to try it with orcs. And at the time, Lee was working for us, and I had him kit bash together a bunch of special Deffwatch orcs. And the idea was the war boss Face Stompa. This is really deep diving into lore right here. So most of you probably won't even be familiar with this, because you'd have to be like super fans following all the lore that I've put into the Deffwatch campaigns, which I don't really expect most of you will have done, and that's okay. But essentially there's these ancient Xenos artifacts called the Jewels of Ymir, and they each contained a soul from back in like the War of Heaven time, the Necrons versus the Eldar. We're talking like the old ones time. And there's whole stories with them. But this one, Face Stompa had found on a Space Hulk. And typically what it does is it possesses the host, and the soul of that person comes back and controls them and continues whatever agendas they were doing. And this one did too. And it turns out the soul that was inside of this one jewel was one of the ancient aliens responsible for creating the orcs in the first place. And we know that, as far as we know, the old ones made the orcs. There's a lot of back and forth with retconning of lore, but it doesn't mean they did it alone. So I decided that this guy was like one of the grand architects of that, and he tried to take over Face Stompa so he could continue the great work. But Face Stompa was like, no, I'm an orc, green energy, I stop you from doing that. And he actually made the will of this ancient alien subservient to him. But he learned everything that this alien knew about how to manipulate the genetics of orcs. And as much as orcs are kind of silly, they really do have an interesting story when you delve deep into them. If you read the Beast Arises series, which I suggest, it's actually really good. There's 12 of them in total. The first one is awesome. Just go and read that by Dan Abnett. It's so great. It does introduce the idea that as the orcs get their wall big enough, it not only unlocks new abilities, which we kind of already knew, but it unlocks like really cool abilities. Like in, no spoiler here, but maybe a tiny spoiler, it unlocked like ambassador orcs that were willing to make deals rather than just conquer. Like, that's how far it gets if the wall gets big enough. So I love this idea that within the genetics of the orcs are all these really cool abilities, but it only unlocked when they got really big walls. But what if the original designer was there? They could unlock a lot of these abilities or even create new ones without the need to do that. So the idea was that Face Stompa used these abilities to create his own Deffwatch, his own prime orcs, or whatever you want to look at it, and then sent them on a ton of missions to gather all sorts of high-end technology from all over the galaxy so that he could become the most powerful orc ever. If you want to go back and watch that, it actually is a lot of fun. It's 21 episodes. They're all available for free on the MiniWarGaming channel. Just search for Deffwatch. That's Deff Watch. And you can see Quark and Steve go through all these missions. It was a lot of fun. Looking back, it was really good. And the campaign was well received. People seemed to really like it. I don't want to give spoilers to how it ended, but I will give a little bit. So Face Stomp is still alive by the end, and he's grown in power and all of this. And so when I was looking at Kyle's orcs and thinking back to how Lee had customized these, and Lee doesn't work with us anymore, not for a long time. you know, as things move on, I was thinking it would be so cool if we could actually do this again. And I've got somebody right here who is super good at designing fun and zany orcs. That would be perfect. So I went to Kyle and I said, Kyle, would you be interested in making some custom orcs for the Deffwatch that we could then sell as 3D printable models and 3D printed models? And he really didn't take long to say yes. There was like no hesitation. He's like, yeah, of course I do. And he went home, and that weekend, he made a ton of them. Like, I'm talking a ton. He sent me back, the very, very first one he sent me a prototype was, this is a really high-tech video, by the way, so you're gonna get to see it like this, was this dude, this big old orc sniper. He's huge. These things, and that's the idea, is each one of these is actually like bigger than a knob. They're like flash kit size. They're really, really large because they start already with some of their abilities unlocked. So he sent me renders of this guy, and then he just kept going and kept going. I gave him a list of ideas, but I'm like, yeah, kind of do whatever you want because I can make it work. But the idea is to be inspired by the Deffwatch. Like, for example, and using all the archetypes. So we've got like a storm boy kind of thing. So a flying orc. That's pretty cool. And then he even gave me the Gobotron. The Gobotron is a goblin inside of a big suit of armor. So the goblin himself has obviously not been elevated like the other ones, but we can thank the engineer for doing that and making the Gobotron. And so basically he works with him. And I can show you more. Actually, this is my favorite one right here, the Beast Rider. Just like on this enormous Dogosaur, we call them, but obviously like meant to proxy as a giant squig. And he did all that, and I just like, that was so cool. That was so fantastic. And so I wanted to really do this justice. And on top of that, we've been really trying to improve the quality of our narrative campaigns because I love storytelling. I just absolutely love storytelling. It's my favorite part of this hobby, is actually getting into the stories. Couldn't care less about competitive play. I just want to tell cool stories within all of this. And so with these models, I'm like, let's do the next Deffwatch, but I really want to do it well. And so the idea behind this was, what can I do to make it even better than the first one? Well, first off, we had to get our 2 players. When Steve heard about this, he was right on board, and Josh was really excited too. So Steve versus Josh, it is. I asked Steve if he wanted to be Team Mork or Team Gork, and he's Team Mork all the way. He's toys over boys, not boys over toys, is what he always says. And the funny thing is, like when he first walked in and he saw these models, he liked them. He said they were good, but you know, he didn't really care for them as much because he loves the Games Workshop orcs. And then I told him what they were for, and all of a sudden he got excited, and I've actually printed him a bunch that he's going to be painting. So these will be this paint scheme that I got done by Best Overall Painting is going to be for Josh. And then Steve will paint up his own. And so the Team Mork is going to be like more of the engineer and the goblin and like that kind of stuff. Whereas Team Gork, which Josh is going to do, is going to be more like the close combat guys, like led by this big old knob / war boss. Not the war boss, that's War Boss Face Stompa, of course, which I have the model for upstairs. Oh, and check this out. He even made like dead versions of most of them as well, which is really fun. So anyways, and as I'm working on developing this, it's just getting more and more fun because I'm like, how can I make this really narrative rich, but still zany and fun like the Deffwatch are supposed to be? And then how do I make it something like you guys have never seen before, something that's like above and beyond what I normally do? So obviously the amount of effort I put into it is going to show for that. And so I've been spending a lot of time developing the story, and we've come up with a really cool story. I don't want to tell you too much, but I will tell you kind of what you learned in the intro maybe. Essentially, there is this forge world that they want to go to and raid because they've heard, they feel the Wa energy, and that the soul of Gorka Morka himself is in the center of this forge world. And recently the forge world has gone dark, and all the Admech and the humans that were on there were killed. And so they think it was the soul of Gorka Morka rising up and killing them all. And so these 2 kill teams are being sent there to basically race to the center where the soul is and basically collect it. Because the Face Stompa has received visions through his augmented weird boy. And these visions have told him that if he goes and he frees the spirit of Gorka Morka from the center of this forge world, that it will give him the forge world as a gift to mass produce the fleets and all the tech that he already has. And then he'd become the most unstoppable orc ever to exist, even greater than the beast himself back on Olinor all those many thousands of years ago. And so Face Stompa has sent his guys to do this. But they're not alone. There are AdMech, there are Imperial Guard and Inquisition forces as well, maybe with their own Deffwatch that they're going to have to fight. But Steve and Josh are going to go on missions together. They're going to be cooperative, competition, however you want to call it, in that they will be both trying to succeed at the mission, but they're competing constantly who can do better at it. And they might have many opportunities to sabotage each other. They're not allowed to fight each other. But you know, if a button was pushed which activated a turret right next to the other guy's, like, whoops, sorry about that, or they press a button and shut a door and lock it that they needed to progress, then I guess that's going to happen as well. And so I really look forward to GMing and pitting the two of them against each other and seeing if they still have anything that resembles a friendship by the end of it. That's my job right there. And I might get people like Luca and Scary involved, maybe even Dave, to get them as maybe some antagonists in some of the missions as well, as I got some ideas there. I don't want to tell you right now because it would just give too many things away. And so I'm just really excited for it. I just wanted you to know that I'm putting a lot of effort into making this one of the best narrative campaigns I've probably ever made. When I say narrative campaign, I mean like a story-rich, narrative-driven campaign. I kind of see them as different than like the More Times and Necromundas and Blood Bowls, where you don't really plan a story. The story just kind of emerges with the dice rolls. This one is more narrative-driven, and then the dice rolls will kind of reveal it as well. More like a Dungeons & Dragons campaign kind of thing. And I need your help in order to make this happen, to really make it thrive. And so about a week ago, I launched a backer kit crowdfunding campaign where you can back and help us to fund this narrative campaign. And in there, you can just do as simple as a $15 contribution that just gets you access to the whole campaign, because it will be a vault campaign as usual. The first episode will be for free, but the rest will be for our vault members, at least for the first while. And so, but if you go in there, you can pay $15 and you get access to the whole thing. And we also have some behind the scenes. And if you have a 3D printer, you can get the full STL bundle of everything. And there's a lot for everything. I'm not going to be really, you're just going to have to go and check it out at MiniWarGaming.com/Deffwatch. Now, if you don't have a 3D printer, no worries. We're going to 3D print them for you as well. So we'll have some pre-made kill teams, or you can just like go all in and get like one of everything. Add-ons as well to get like the dead guys. And this would mean a whole lot to me to get your help, because I want to put more into it, because as I design these missions, I'm like, oh, I could really use that extra terrain, or ooh, it'd be really nice to have these extra models. But the cost normally of making a narrative campaign can be anywhere in the ballpark of $10,000 to $20,000, depending on how many episodes and how many people I get involved. So this one will probably be on the upper end of that. And so if I can raise more than that, or at least getting close to that, I don't expect this campaign necessarily pays for the entire campaign, because obviously the campaign itself goes in the vault and vault members help pay for it as well. But if I can get enough, then we can invest that money in more terrain, better equipment, more models, and everything like that. And so that's up to you if you want to help out, but I would really, really appreciate that. On top of that, I'm thinking, and I'd like to know your feedback on this last one, so leave a comment below. What I want to do at the end of the campaign is actually auction off the models. And that way people can own a piece of the MiniWarGaming narrative. You can have like this guy at home, and we'll auction off a lot of them, if not all of them. I think even Steve had mentioned that he'll paint them up, we'll play with them, and then we're free to basically auction them off at the end. And that'll help fund the next narrative campaign that we do. And so if that's something that you think would be interesting, I'd love to hear. Just leave a comment saying, yeah, that would be really cool. And or thumbs it up, or be like, nah, I never want to support you guys ever. You're a bunch of shills that love Games Workshop too much, and your stuff sucks, and you should be filming with 7 cameras and spending a few hundred hours doing editing, or how dare you put it behind a paywall. You know, I'm sure I'll hear that as well. But you know, Vault members are what pay for everything. So, and if you are a Vault member, I just got to say thank you as well, because you're already helping us so much. I'm rambling on here. I'll be surprised if anybody is still watching at this point. Let me know if you are. But go check it out, MiniWarGaming.com/Deffwatch, and you'll see all the stuff there. You'll see the story, you'll see the minis, you'll see what's going on. And I hope that you decide to help out, because I can't wait to actually film this, which we're looking to do maybe in, I don't know, November or December, depending on the funds raised. So then what kind of prep we have to do. If a lot of funds are raised, it might actually push it back a bit, because then I'll get more terrain and models built to make this as epic as possible. And if you have any other ideas of narrative campaigns that you'd like to see, leave a comment below as well, because I'd love to hear it. This is Matthew. Peace out. I don't know why I said that. Happy wargaming.